Please do.
That's not the big concern.
Kidding me.
He's not going to be.
Oh, here's one back to you too. But I love the idea. Did you like the idea, Susan? It works fine.
It's a lot better than barking.
Well, well, see, that's the perfect of the compromise, because you don't believe that, and I don't believe that it should be pipe fence, and I think that that's what makes it a great compromise. It works for everybody except for her.
Who was that?
Kristen, the one who sent you the email, she was sending everybody emails, and I had written her back before. So I was kind of surprised that at the council meeting, you brought that back, because we had hit that with businesses, everybody did match.
Well, see, I didn't know any.
Well, you did, see, I was thinking you maybe would have talked to me. It's tricky, I'm on the bike. You asked me,
Couldn't. A quorum.
oh, what? Well, no. Well, I'm, yeah,
Items? Look at those ones.
but it's, I mean, it's, then it brings all the phone calls back from the businesses, and it's not a good time to do this, and if she's gotta leave, I don't care. I don't. I'd rather have her leave than a business.
Oh, more stuff that we need to read.
What's this one?
It's all dealing with. Yeah, this makes sense.
Well, we can't vote against what's been proposed? What, the ordinance that was drafted, we can't vote up or down on it?
We should wait.
What are you talking about?
This one? That he thinks that we shouldn't vote on it.
I haven't got to that yet. We'll wait till we get it into,
I will call the License and Ordinance Committee to order. And the first item is comments from citizens present. Okay.
Hi. I'm Deb Umstead, and this is my husband, Brian Davis. We submitted a request for a permit for amplified sound for this summer, because we hold backyard concerts. And we've been doing this for many years without any problem, and we have not previously applied for a permit, but we were told last year that we should after we got our first complaint. And we really believe that the reason we got that complaint last year was because we had an unusual band, the Mad Polecats, and they brought big subwoofer speakers, which we've not had before. So we usually have a small amplified system. Usually the people that perform are solo artists, usually not more than 2 or 3 people. So it usually doesn't create a problem in our neighborhood. We always invite all our neighbors, and we start music around 7:30 and we try to end by 10. So we have 4 of them scheduled for this summer, and we're hoping to get a permit for that.
Okay. What?
okay, thank you.
Well, I think the first thing we need to decide is the hearing appeals. So continued hearing on, first thing
So
is
let's
approval of
approve-
the minutes.
Yeah, let's open, approve the minutes, and then move to approve.
And
I wasn't
Second it.
here.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, next is the hearing appeals. So the continued hearing on possible revocation of an alcohol license held by Star UWM LLC, doing business as Star Barbecue Fitzgerald's at 3112 Parmenter Street.
Since this is a continuation of the prior hearing, I think we can probably treat the committee's motion to have me kind of continue to be the
Yes.
hearing examiner, continue till now. Mr. Chang, I do not see Mr. Chang here.
I emailed and received a voicemail from Mr. Chang. He originally said he would be here. We scheduled an appointment 11 o'clock this morning. The building inspector and I went out to the facilities and examined them.
Is he there?
No, he was originally supposed to be for both. I sent a voicemail and email having car trouble and the car broke down again. And he's stuck in another one. So the general contractor did meet us there, but he was not there.
So it's likely he won't be here tonight?
Yeah, he indicated he would not be able to make it tonight and asked if we,
Do we have any, I know Bill's got some more information about the status of repairs. Bill, maybe you
Other
can-
than what you see in your report, it was a relief to hear that the roof structure is adequate for what they've done so far. It appears to be, at least those areas on the roof, waterproof. However, we did find out that there was some water leaking in on the north side of the building where there used to be a car repair place, and they just need to waterproof that so water doesn't come in. They were having some issues with mildew and issues with carpeting, so that's one of the conditions on. We've required that an architect be involved in stancing plans. We originally did the in-house review on the karaoke part of it, which was a few small rooms, that they're gonna have private karaoke sessions in there is their proposal. Upon going in and reviewing the status of where they were, back a couple of months ago, it appeared they had a dead-end corridor, which is very unsafe. If there's a fire outside of their rooms, they'd never get out. So they actually today put in another exit door to accommodate an exit path for these rooms if and when they do get used. We're waiting for some information for the fire department, both from the state on suppression. We've been told they're supposed to be coming. The rest on the list is pretty much generic building inspection items that are not of a major issue, but the integrity of the building is safe. The health department has been involved due to the food, potential food issues there. Also, we did notice item number 1, there's a couple of beds inside. The fire alarm system at this time is not working, and they're on a second floor, which used to be used as offices. So it's an unsafe situation, and it was brought to our attention by the architect who's designing the plans. He said he wants no part of it if there's gonna be sleeping units up there, due to the fact that it's not, number 1, it's not zoned that way, but it could be changed. Number 2, the fact that without a working fire alarm system, they have no notification. If during construction there's a spark in the wall, during the night the fire takes off, we'd have no way of getting them out of there. So I posted the building this afternoon about an hour ago. Every entrance on the property was posted no occupancy and vacated. And so it's been.
But there were people sleeping there.
Yeah, you can tell there were some beds of people there. Actually, there was 2 workers there this afternoon when I stopped back and I was talking to him, and he said that they've seen them from time to time there. They come and go. They don't know when they're gonna be there or how long they're gonna stay. The one gentleman said he locks his tools inside the building, and they got a notification that the key was left in the door, so somebody could have walked in at any time and just taken whatever they wanted. But so there's been activity going on that is above and beyond what we normally see on a construction site. But we're doing our best to maintain it, to secure it, secure the property inside and secure the, as I said, it was a relief to find out that the structural integrity of the roof was intact, and that report is forthcoming. I don't have it in my hand, but I was promised I'd see it within the next couple of days, so.
So can you tell that they've actually made some progress on the construction?
Yeah, we were told that if, right now it's over finances, and once the general contractor was able to get financing or an escrow account, we felt that probably 6 weeks, mid-June he thought, but with some of the things that were added on here, it might be a little longer. Realistically, it might be more like mid-July, but it depends on the number of people he has to put in the project. They could possibly be done by mid-June.
That's if he gets the financing.
Right.
And financing was an issue before.
Yeah, and that continues to really be the issue. That the general contractors kind of stayed off the job. I think they're just getting back on it now. They could get this wrapped up mid-June if they chose to get it wrapped up mid-June. If they don't want occupancy upstairs, then right. This is after building a secondary story now, where that's all going to be, pretty different. But really, based on what we've seen, they're starting to do some stuff. They're really kind of doing work on project and license to the issue. I don't know how motivated Mr. Chen really is. He mentioned at the end of the last meeting that he could be comfortable in this fall too, because that's when students come back. So, I mean, as far as from my perspective, I think we set a deadline. Whatever that committee decides, I think we should set a deadline. If that's when the license expires, June 30th, so be it. If he's ready, great. If he's not, then we're not going to when we provide the license to the next person on the other list. He's been made aware of that. We can still certainly provide him with a list of all the things he needs to get done prior to that. It'd be, I think, very reasonable. That'd be a full year that we would have our business, and the license within 7 months.
My problem is the fact that we know there are businesses that would like this license. And if we don't revoke this one, they will have to pay $10,000 to get a license. So we're putting businesses that are complying at a disadvantage.
I guess my question more is the precedent that we set for how long do you get to just hold your license in limbo before you lose it? Because that's not fair to the
Right,
next
that's
person.
basically,
License open for that period of time.
so they've been out of business how long?
We know for certain, David last year, that I believe there was some common property not under the same thing.
Right, yeah, I believe his statement was, at the beginning of this hearing, is he said the last day they were open was sometime in the end of May. And our ordinance is 6 months, so it's been a substantial period of time. Just for sake of completeness of the record, I forgot to check whether we had marked any other exhibits, but Bill, we've got a memo from you dated May 8th of 2018, and you've provided that to the committee. We have that for the record. And then, Steve, you also handed me this, an email string, the first one being dated Monday, May 7th, 2018, from Ivania Pavlova. That's the general contractor? Okay.
So we did one email previous hearing from general contractors on that.
Okay, so that would have been Exhibit 1. We'll call Bill's memo Exhibit 2, and the email communication from the general contractor Exhibit 3. And so as I understand, the message from the contractor is that we had hoped or believed that as of last month, when we first had this hearing, that this money issue had been taken care of, but apparently it has not been.
I was under the impression after our last hearing that there wasn't an issue anymore. This
Yeah,
was
that's
funded
what's
to-
got
Right, yeah,
Completion.
that would have been the first email. Let's see if I still have my copy of it. But yeah, the thrust of the message, as I recall, was that the money issue at that time, they believed had been taken care of, but, yeah, I don't have a copy of that email.
That was the impression I had.
But there
money had
continues to
been
be some
solved.
money issues, I guess.
Of course, you can have money, he's just sitting on it.
When was the last time we revoked a license for not being?
I don't know if we ever have. We have,
How
we
long
have.
was Rusty's closed before license was turned
I don't
over?
know, I mean, I know we have, I believe we have filed complaints, but I believe, in the one or two instances where we've done it, the licenses were just surrendered. Nobody, nobody put up a fight about it. They were
Right,
going to close.
and they knew they needed to surrender, and there was someone that wanted it immediately.
Correct, yeah. We've never gone to a hearing and had to actually make a decision to revoke. Like I said, in every case, they knew that they weren't gonna be able to open at any time, and the license was effectively surrendered.
Have they been closed as long as this one has?
Well, if you recall, initially, when we enacted this ordinance, there were several licenses that had been issued, like to the Greenway development, and they
Yeah.
were just holding them. So those had been held for some time. It had been longer
But
than
we didn't
years.
have a waiting list.
At the time, we did, and that's what prompted us to enact this ordinance. And then I think ultimately a couple of those may have been used, but the remainder of them were surrendered. And then after that, it seems to me we maybe have, gone after one or two, but never have had to come to a hearing. So this would be certainly the longest since the ordinance has become effective, past those initial few, where we've had to take some action and nobody has.
And we made the ordinance in response to those initial ones.
Correct, yeah, it was kind of the developer holding and sitting on these licenses, which was the initial impetus for this.
He's new on the committee. We've discussed this multiple times. We've seen the owner once, which was at the last meeting.
And I can say he's just, normally, I don't know if you had any chance to review the video of the last thing, but in this case, there isn't any factual dispute. When the owner appeared here last time, the general facts of the complaint, he admitted here that they had been essentially closed since May. So really, the operative trigger for this ordinance is, have you been open for business within 6 months? So from a factual perspective, that has been conceded, and we're really on to the next phase of this. Once we find that the business has not been open, the committee decides whether to go forward with revocation or postpone any revocation or non-renewal based on the following factors, and I'll recite them again. First is the reasons why the licensed premises has not been in operation, including but not limited to the degree of control licensee has had over circumstances leading to non-operation, and efforts the licensee has undertaken in order to commence or resume operations. B, the likelihood that the premises will commence or resume operations within the 3 months subsequent to the hearing. For our purposes, I think we're looking at really that this hearing commenced last month. The licensee's investment-backed expectations in the license, the number of licenses available for issuance, and any other factors the committee deems relevant in balancing the licensee's interest in retaining the license against the city's interest in licenses being held by functioning and productive businesses. So
3-month part again?
the likelihood that the premises will commence or resume operations within the 3 months subsequent to the hearing.
So the clock started, gave them a 3-month clock at our last.
Essentially, yeah. I mean, this
So that
is
was
somewhat
a-
discretionary, but yeah, you're to look essentially from April. And I think that's one of the reasons why we continued this, is to be able to give us a look now. Because remember, I mean, we really learned at the last month that money issues were the main thing. The contractor was concerned about not getting paid. They weren't going to agree to work unless there was money reserved in an escrow account. We had been told that that was a non-issue anymore, that had been taken care of. So I'm guessing what it really was is he'd essentially agreed to do it, but then perhaps never followed through or has not maintained the escrow since some work has been done.
So does that 3 months then, does that mean that we can't really do anything until next month?
No, that is just one of the factors you're to consider. We weren't required to continue this hearing before. I think the decision was made, though, just because it seemed with the money issue that one of the main hurdles had been cleared, and that hopefully this month would have shown some significant progress. We'd be told, hey, we've gone along, but now, well, one, Mr. Chang is not here. I understand he had some car troubles, but
Yeah, I've got a concern. He hasn't appeared in the past and sent his contractor. Didn't appear today. Yes, he has a reason, but we gave him a pretty good statement. We wanted to see stuff going forward. And I'm looking at this, last month it was, the contractor could be finished by the 1st of June. Now it's gonna be like July,
well,
and it's still the money issues.
well, that's
Nothing's been
the thing. I mean, the
resolved.
contractor seems to be saying that this can all be done, but where we're sitting here today is, has the reason for all these delays been,
I see no progress on it.
have they been resolved? And, I mean, I think that may be a significant question.
What was the comment you made, something about school start, when school was?
During the last
Yeah.
section, Mr. Chang had mentioned that his fruit business, the fruit barbecue, the karaoke and stuff, the school, the university back in session would be a big trigger for him. That's when things would really get moving for him.
So that's really his deadline probably, or perceived deadline. So, yeah, I mean, I've got lots of concerns since the issue that was the problem before has not been resolved, which is paying the contractor.
I guess my recommendation would simply to establish a date. Let's call him a date. That'd be an incredibly reasonable response. We've given him so much time already. Let's give him about that date and that's that one. Let's say that one license.
Well, certainly I mean, 3 months roughly from the last hearing date would be about the renewal.
So the renewal is the 30th?
Renewal is the 30th. The contractor appears to be telling us that, that they are able to get this done such that it'd be ready to be open by June, provided what is under Mr. Chang's control of making payment.
Well, I guess my feeling is with the, with that 3 month in there that we put in there, I wouldn't go to, I'm frankly tired of this, and I wouldn't go to the June 30th. You give them the 30 days from our last meeting, which brings you to approximately June 15th. And as far as I'm concerned, that would be the drop dead date.
I can go along with that. And he will be able, even if we revoke it, he can still get a license, but he has to pay a larger amount.
Right, and so,
Which is,
I just don't think that we want to as a policy. I just don't think that, so much that's unclear with this whole process that we've had. And I just am not sure that we want to set the precedent that round and fool around and fool
No, we
around with
don't.
these licenses for, over a year. Understanding that the ordinance says 6 months after, but
we were a little slow on the 6 months.
we need to, I think we need to determine something that if it ever happens again, the next person that comes along, we can't just keep going.
So as before, we're ultimately gonna have to have some written findings, that I can prepare. I understand, that the committee may be having a short meeting next week, perhaps.
Yeah.
I
Maybe
think,
next week?
Well, right before the common council meeting, I just got a communication today.
I'm not gonna be here.
Well, we'll still have a quorum.
We do, so,
Gotta be here.
so if we could maybe just briefly go through these factors, because I'd like to be able to address them. I mean, I think the reasons why the licensed premises has not been in operation, I mean, seems, by all information we have, seems to be primarily due to financial,
Paying the
Reasons, he's
contractor.
not-
It's not weather.
right? And so, I mean, I guess to some degree, you question the control he has, but, I mean, if you ultimately don't have the financial wherewithal to get your business going, I mean, that is somewhat, I think, your responsibility.
Have the wherewithal to keep your business running.
And certainly,
Starts
he's
to ask other
previously
questions.
told the contractor that, you know, money would be there and did not follow through, so I think that covers the reasons. The likelihood that the premises will commence or resume operations, well, I think that the time period we're giving him is roughly the 3 months anyway.
Matt?
Yep.
One thing I should probably add is that he was offered the opportunity by the construction manager to separate the bar area. If you're familiar with the terms, they could separate the bar and the entry area, and the east side door, use part of the kitchen, block the rest off from the construction and the dust and the dirt, and at least have a bar and a small area open for food and whatnot. Mr. Chang chose not to elect that. He wants to open it all at one time. That's what the general contractor told us this morning.
Well, and I believe that, it seems to me that he may have mentioned that, something like that himself, as well.
He's still gonna have to comply with all of these.
If he can separate out the construction area, he'd have to make sure he has usable fire alarm systems for the units to be occupied. All of the safety items, the fire extinguisher, the smoke detectors are all have to be in place. Health department will have to sign off. The old part of the bar has actually not been touched and is in good shape, a little dusty right now, but good cleaning will put it back in business. They did do some requirements by the health department to paint the interior of one of the coolers, and I think maybe more to meet their requirements, and they've done that. So I think the bar itself, with the small area for seating around there and part of the kitchen, is available for if he truly wants to open it, but it sounded, and I don't know the conditions, I don't expect it, but
So he does have an option if he wants to keep the license.
Yeah, so, I mean, I think that would go to the reasons why it's not in operation. He seems to be choosing to
Not be in operation.
not be in operation. Yeah, he could operate the bar, but he's choosing not to. The investment-backed expectations, well, I mean, certainly he's put money into it, but our ordinance says 6 months. He's had more than a year and, I mean, has not, again, been paying the contractors.
When was he first notified that he wasn't in compliance?
It was either in January, February that we first sent notice to him, and for the January, or I think it was for the February meeting.
That was the one that he sent his contractor, or
I
didn't show.
believe so. Then we asked for him to appear at the March meeting, and he did not show. And that's when we decided to serve him with a complaint, so the hearing was in the April meeting.
So we've been letting this go on a long time.
So, yeah,
in the
he's
process.
already had a
He's
few
had a lot
months.
of time to correct the problem.
And certainly has become directly aware of the nature of our ordinance, and has known about it for some time. And actually, Steve, refresh my recollection, but doesn't Madison have the same ordinance, similar? When you spoke to the Madison officials, they have a similar requirement, and they had to take similar action. So he's not unaware, this would not be a new process to him.
Is he aware of the consequence of it? For a new license, he might have to pay $10,000?
We made him aware of that.
As for the number of licenses available for issuance, right now, as I recall, we don't have any regular licenses. So, we do have people waiting to use the regular license. Although, as to both of these, we do have quota licenses, revoking this license when he is ready to open would not prevent him from reapplying and getting it.
No, it's
and being able to open,
an issue of,
correct.
we're making some, by letting him keep his license, some other business is having to get the quota license.
Correct.
For $10,000. A business that hasn't done anything wrong.
So I don't know, are there any other factors involved here that the committee would like to see reflected in a written decision? So what I will try to do is I will do my best to get a draft out to you to review individually, hopefully by tomorrow, and then you can look at it, reply only to me with any comments you might have. I'm going to assume that they're not going to be so widely divergent that it's going to cause any problems. I will get it into final form, and then we will have that on the agenda for the committee to consider next Tuesday.
Do we need a motion for that?
Probably, yeah.
That drafts that.
The cutoff date of June 15th. Is that right?
So the motion would be for,
Updated
direct the
to
city
15.
attorney to put together draft findings of fact and conclusion, directing that the deadline for opening be established at June 15th, and give the committee a draft.
But he has contact with Mr. Chang. That's his, he should really appear.
Okay, we need a second.
A second.
Further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Next item,